Should receive that notice anytime. Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, it is 4 p.m. and I can confirm we are live streaming and recording. You may begin your meeting.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach. Looks like we have a quorum and we're ready to begin the meeting. Assistant Secretary Leach, would you please begin the hearing by reading of the Town of Pelham Land Recognition Statement?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendship of Indigenous peoples. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed with your opening remarks.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach. First, I'd like to introduce the committee members today, Mr. Bernie Law.
Good afternoon.
And Mrs. Sandra Marsh.
Hi.
And I'm Don Cook, and I'm acting chairman for the meeting. I'd like to begin the meeting by having the following opening statements. This is an electronic hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy the requirements of the Planning Act and council bylaws. Public meetings, notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters, 200 feet of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands and information has been provided on the Town's Committee of Adjustment webpage. Applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision on the application. I think I have forgotten something, but we may not have. Other applications. Pecuniary interest. Does any member of the panel have pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications being considered today? Mr. Law.
I have none, thank you.
Mrs. Marsh.
I have none.
And I, Don Cook, have none either. Assistant Secretary Leach, have there been any requests for withdrawal or adjournment of any of the applications being heard today?
For you, Mr. Chair, there has not been.
In that case, let's begin with our first application. The first application is A1 2023P. The property in question is at 79 Canboro Road, and there are 3 variances being requested as part of this application. In this regard, Assistant Secretary Leach, could you please read the summary presentation of the planning report?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Committee of Adjustment hearing Wednesday, January 11th, 2023 at 4 p.m. All Town of Pelham Committee of Adjustment hearings are currently being held electronically via Zoom. This presentation is based upon the Town of Pelham's Planning Department report and analysis. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this public meeting. Participants are reminded, please ensure your background is free from offensive or vulgar material. If inappropriate material is visible, you will be removed from the meeting. Vulgar or offensive language will also not be tolerated. If inappropriate language is used, you will be removed from the meeting. Participants will remain in the waiting room until they are called to speak. Once your comments have been heard by the committee, microphones will be muted. Once voting on the item has taken place, participants will be removed from the meeting completely, and you may resume viewing the meeting via live stream. Please note that the Zoom chat is not being monitored nor recommended to contact the clerk's department. If you wish to contact us, please use the clerks@pelham.ca email, as this email address is being monitored during the public portion of the meeting. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum. This means that all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak, you'll be given the opportunity to address the committee at the public portion of the meeting. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please use the email address clerks@pelham.ca. Please note that all comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Disrespectful comments will also not be tolerated. Please note that if decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and persons asked to leave. Public portion of the meeting. To allow for an efficient meeting, each member of the public will be given the opportunity to speak to the committee during the public portion. Please note that after all members of the public have been given the opportunity to speak, the applicant or agent will have the opportunity to address the public comments and concerns at one time. Application for minor variance, file A1, 79 Canboro Road. The subject land is located on the north side of Canboro Road, lying south of Highway 20 West, known locally as 79 Canboro Road in the town of Pelham. The application seeks relief from section 13.2C, seeking a maximum lot coverage of 35%, where 30% is required. Section 13.2D, seeking a minimum front yard setback of 6 meters, where 7.7 meters is required. And section 13.2E, seeking a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters, whereas 1.8 meters is required. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division, C condition. Public Works Department. Public Works does not support the increase in maximum coverage and the reduction of the interior side yard setback due to the existing / proposed grades, and notes the drainage plan does not mitigate potential surface water runoff from impacting adjacent properties. Public Works staff have requested that a condition of minor variance approval and overall lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating no adverse impact on adjacent properties be submitted for review and approval. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Minor variance test 1 is the variance minor in nature. Yes, the increased lot coverage is minimal given the lot and surrounding context. The proposed attached garage will maintain a front yard setback of 6 meters. The surrounding neighborhood is characterized by dwellings of similar frontages and setbacks. It is noted that the proposed garage addition will be set back behind the dwelling to the west. An interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters will be maintained. It is noted that the existing board fence along the west property line will be maintained. The variances are considered minor as they do not change the use of the site, nor do they substantially alter the functionality of the amenity space of the parcel. Also, the outdoor living structure and garage addition are of a height and mass that would not adversely impact the abutting properties. Minor variance test 2 is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land. Yes, the requested variances are not anticipated to have a negative impact on the streetscape or adjacent properties. The increase in lot coverage is desirable as it will permit design flexibility for an attached garage addition and outdoor living structure that, while covered, is open on 2 sides and maintains adequate rear yard amenity area. The proposed development is compatible with the existing dwelling and the built form of the area. The requested variances are appropriate and desirable as it will not result in shadowing on adjacent properties, will allow for the continued use of the rear yard as private amenity space, will not alter the function of the subject property, and are not anticipated to alter the streetscape in any significant way. Minor variance test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the surrounding neighborhood is generally characterized by 1 to 2-story single detached dwellings. The official plan states that development and redevelopment shall maintain and enhance the character and stability of existing and well-established residential neighborhoods with regards to scale and density. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed attached garage and outdoor living structure is compatible with and generally in keeping with the low density residential character of the neighborhood. The proposal is generally consistent in built form, scale, and massing with existing development and the character of the area.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach.
To have a couple more slides.
Oh, a couple more slides? Okay.
Yes, minor variance test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the intent of the maximum lot coverage provision is to maintain adequate space for landscaping, leisure, drainage, and to maintain neighborhood streetscapes and compatibility. The increased coverage is not anticipated to have a significant visual impact, and there remains adequate rear yard amenity space to service the dwelling. The intent of the minimum front yard is to ensure adequate separation from the street and to ensure compatibility with adjacent land uses. The decreased front yard setback is not anticipated to have a significant impact on the streetscape, and parking will continue to be provided. The interior side yard setback is intended to maintain access to side yards, provide adequate distance between dwellings, and to provide adequate room for drainage. There is an existing detached garage and the driveway on the east side of the property, which provides for separation from the adjacent parcel and access to the rear yard. The attached garage is proposed on the west side of the property. The variance is necessary to provide adequate space for the addition. Planning staff are of the opinion the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in the overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or any neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regard to land use and compatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff, subject to the submission and approval of an overall lot grading and drainage plan. Planning staff do recommend that the application number A1/2023P be approved, subject to the following condition. That all necessary building permits are acquired prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official, and that the applicant submit an overall lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that drainage neither relies nor negatively impacts neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works or their designate. Through you, Mr. Chair, that does conclude our presentation.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach. Are the representatives, any representatives, Mr. and Mrs. Bernard or their agent available to join the meeting?
Yes, I will be bringing in their planner. And we have Mr. Joe Tamina with us. Just a moment while he connects. Excellent. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, we can.
I'm just gonna put my, I'm having issues with my camera here.
That's okay. It's not required.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a few comments and then open for any questions. I've reviewed the planning staff's report and concur with the recommendations and agree that the variance meets the 4 tests in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act. 1 being that the requested variances are minor in nature. 2, the variance is considered to be desirable for the appropriate development of the land. 3, variances are considered to maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw. And the 4th test, the variance are considered to maintain the general intent of the official plan. And staff's report goes into detail that the requested variance meets the 4 tests, and they're recommending approval with the conditions as noted. I'd just like to comment regarding Public Works comments. We agree with the condition, of course, of the standard lot grading plan approval. But I just want to note that I don't see any issues here in our surveyor. They're prepared to we have already prepared a lot grading plan, and it does show the work already. And we're only at 35% of the lot area, and the drainage can be accommodated. If you look at the drainage plan that was submitted, you have an elevation of 204.55 at the garage floor elevation. And then the 2 elevations at the asphalt are 204.33 and 204.28. So we do have fall from the front of the garage to the edge of the asphalt at Canboro Road. So we are accommodating that drainage there. If you include just the garage, it's within the zoning bylaw of 30%. The increase of the additional 5 is to accommodate a sitting area in the rear of the land, in the backyard. So it's a landscape feature. And we did submit the proposed grading plan, and we do, and considering, you have to consider that we're on top of the hill, and we know the soil type in that area. It's not a heavy clay like Welland or some other neighboring communities. We are looking at sandy loam soil, so the drainage usually not an issue in this area, and we haven't had any issues with the existing property. So we will accommodate a proper drainage plan on submission of a building permit and as a condition of minor variance. That's all I have to add.
Thank you, Mr. Tomano. Assistant Secretary Leach, do we have any registered public that wish to speak to this application while we're still in the open part of the meeting?
Yes, thank you. We do not have any pre-registered members of the public, and it is 4:14 p.m. and you may close the public portion.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach. Can I have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting? Mrs. Marsh moves,
I'll make the motion.
seconded by Mr. Law. All in favor of closing the public portion of the meeting concerning this application? Carried. Thank you very much. Members of the committee, do you have any questions you wish to ask of the applicant?
I think you,
Mr. Law.
I think they've done an excellent job on this property to give it a better street appearance on Canboro Road, and they're going to use this property to benefit the homeowners. So I think they've done a very good job. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Law. And Mrs. Marsh.
I have no questions or comments, and I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no other comments.
Well, I have one comment I wish to ask. I noticed on the drawings that were submitted with the application by Mr. Chambers that you are proposing to change the westerly driveway, Mr. Tomorrow. Hello.
Correct.
I also noticed that when my site visit, I did notice that this particular property also currently has two driveway entrances onto Canboro Road. And there's basically a turnaround circle in front of the house, in front of the covered porch. Is that going to remain as is? Because I noticed here we have paving brick walkway in the front yard rather than a driveway, which is currently being used for.
The intent is to follow the plan as proposed.
Well, the plan that I have shows that the existing driveway in the front of the covered porch is going to be a paving brick walkway, not a driveway. Something that I would expect the car to be using. My only concern is that if the existing driveway on the west side of the property is going to be altered, I would suggest, in fact, I would request as a condition that you obtain a revised driveway entrance permit from the town of Pelham prior to the issuance of the building permit.
Agreed.
Because I also noticed that the easterly driveway is going to be concrete curb, and that would pretty well preclude the current use of the turnaround in the front of the property, in front of that brick walkway. So that's why I'm suggesting that the committee add a condition that any alteration to the existing westerly driveway prior to the issuance of building permit, the revised entrance permit be received from the town of Pelham. That would be acceptable to you and your clients?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Marsh, I guess, are there any other comments that comment a little bit of the committee wish to make regarding this application? If not, I would entertain a motion regarding this application. Mrs. Marsh, you are ready to do same.
Yeah, I can make that
Please go
motion. For file A1 2023 piece, 79 Canberra Road in Pelham. The application's made for minor variance for maximum lot coverage, 35%, maximum front yard setback of 6 meters, minimum interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters be granted for the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature as it does not change the use of the site. It does not substantially alter the functionality of amenity space. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land as it permits design flexibility for the attached garage addition. It's not resulting in shadowing, allows for continued use of the rear yard amenity space, does not alter the function of the property, does not significantly alter the streetscape. This application is granted without prejudice to any other applications in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners, and that the committee considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. The conditions, that all building permits be obtained, that an overall lot grading and drainage plan be submitted, and that if there are any revisions to the westerly boundary, westerly driveway entrance, that an entrance permit be obtained.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I second this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Law. All in favor of granting this application with the revised conditions as stated by Mrs. Marsh? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
applicants, And I guess we're ready to proceed. Okay, the next application in front of us is variance application A2 2023P. The property in question is at 261 Canboro Road. We have one variance being requested by the applicants. Assistant Secretary Leach, could you read the summary presentation for us? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Application for minor variance, file A2/2023P 261 Canboro Road. The subject land is located on the north side of Canboro Road, lying east of Effingham Street, known locally as 261 Canboro Road. Application is made to construct a rear addition to an existing single detached dwelling. The variance seeks relief from section 7.4F, minimum side yard, seeking a minimum side yard of 4.38 meters, whereas a minimum of 9 meters is required. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division, C condition. Public Works, no comments. One public comment was received and is summarized as follows. No objection to the variance as requested, stated they are aware of similar variance requests and that have been approved in the area. Niagara Region Planning and Development, environmental planning offers no requirements and no objection to the proposed minor variance application. Based on a review of aerial photography, it appears that the portion of the property that will be impacted by the proposed development has been subject to recent intensive and extensive ground disturbance and as a result of the construction of the dwelling and in-ground pool. Accordingly, regional staff will not require the archaeological assessment within the application. They offer no objection to the proposed. Minor variance test 1 is the variance minor in nature. Yes, the setback is not anticipated to have any negative impacts on the streetscape and is generally in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. The addition will not be visible from the street. A row of mature conifers is located along the eastern property line, which are to be maintained and will screen the proposed addition. The use of the land will remain appropriate and compatible with the surrounding area, which is characterized by single detached dwellings on rural residential lots. Minor variance test 2 is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land. Yes, the variance will facilitate a rear yard addition to the existing dwelling. The scale of the addition is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and will facilitate the development that meets the needs of property owners. Further, the construction of the addition will not necessitate any tree removal on the subject land. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the requested reduced side yard setback should have no impact on the agricultural viability of the surrounding area and will not compromise the objectives of the official plan with respect to land use compatibility, stormwater runoff, and private sewage system servicing capabilities. The remaining lot area remains available to handle stormwater runoff, the existing septic system, and preserve a rear yard amenity area. The proposed built form of the addition is generally consistent in scale and massing with existing development and the character of residential areas. Lastly, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the interior side yard setback is intended to maintain access to side yards, provide adequate distance between dwellings, and provide adequate room for drainage. The variance is necessary to provide adequate space for the addition. The west side of the dwelling maintains a large setback to the western property line. The setback provides for adequate rear yard access and space should the existing septic system require an expansion. The neighboring property to the east maintains a large setback to the property line, and as such, no issues of compatibility are anticipated. Planning staff are of the opinion the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in the overbuilding of the property, will not alter the views, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or neighboring properties, should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regard to land use compatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. Planning staff recommend that application A2/2023P be approved subject to the following condition: that all necessary building permits are acquired prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Leach. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this particular application?
No, Mr. Chair, but I will just bring in our applicant and our agent. Just provide me one moment. So we do have the agent, Ms. Agata Mancini, with us, and the applicant, Ms. Allison Fiorella.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mancini, Mrs. Baxter Fiola, do you have any comments you wish to add as part of our deliberations? Oops.
Oh, you're just muted.
Hi, Mr. Chair. I'm Agata Mancini. I'm the architect.
Thank you. I guess, do you have any comments you wish to add to the planning report or the presentation we've just heard?
We believe everything has been summarized based on everything that has been read, and that is included in the report. So unless there are any questions, I don't believe that we have anything else to add.
Okay, so it appears that we have the ability to close the public portion of the meeting. Therefore, I'd like a mover and a seconder for closing the public portion of the meeting with regard to this application. Can I have a mover? Mr. Law moves, seconded by Mrs. Marsh. All in favor of closing the public portion of the meeting? Carried. Okay, members of the committee, do you have any comments you wish to ask the architect or the applicant with regard to this application? Okay, seeing none, I also have none. Mrs. Marsh, no comments. Mr. Law, no comments regarding this application?
No comments.
It's an excellent application. The planning department has done a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Are we ready to render a decision on this application? If so, could I have a mover and a seconder with regard to this application? Mr. Law.
Yes, I move that we grant this application. File A2/2023P at 261 Canboro Road, Pelham. So application is made for the minor variance of the minimum side yard setback of 4.38 meters. Application is granted. The variance is minor in nature as no adverse impacts anticipated on streetscape, setback in keeping with surrounding neighborhood. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land as facilitate a rear yard addition, improve functionality of existing dwelling. This application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. The Committee of Adjustment considers the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. The one condition is the building permit.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second that
Mrs. Marsh.
motion.
You're very difficult. You kind of faded out on me here. You're coming through a little dark. All in favor of granting the application? It's Mr. Law. Carried. Thank you very much. And congratulations. And looks like a good addition to the property.
Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is there are no applications for consent, so I guess we can move to the approval of minutes. Approval of the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of November the 1st. Members present at that meeting were Bernie Law and myself, I think.
That's correct.
So I would move that the minutes of Committee of Adjustment meeting held on in November the 1st be approved as attached to this particular agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Law seconds the motion. All in favor? Guess what, Bernie, you and I have to do it. We're okay. The second meeting here, I gotta, hang on a second. I got too many paper clips and
That's okay. I can let you know, Mr. Chair. It was yourself and Ms. Marsh who was in attendance.
okay, this particular meeting, it's Mr. Cook and Mrs. Marsh. This is the meeting, the Committee of Adjustment meeting for December the 6th, 2022. Gonna have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. March. I'll second that motion. All in favor? We carried it. Thank you very much. Our next major item on the agenda is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment?
I'll make,
Moved by Mr. Law, seconded by Mrs. Marsh. All in favor of closing the Committee of Adjustment meeting of today, which is, guess what? The 11th of, already the 11th of January. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, committee. And I guess we have another meeting in February.